and village, and both won. And one of the things I ran on was climate change, extreme weather, and getting our act together. And a number of people said, "So why are you worried? We had our 50-year flood last year." And I said, "Well, I'm just studying the weather, basically." From Katepwa to Pasqua, we've ordered 300,000 sandbags. We have 4 machines we've bought cooperatively, and I'm all for that. But I also know ice is going to be the big issue. So it's completely unknown what's going to happen in the Capel Valley Lake system. But thank God Harper's deregulated it, so it sort of has a free market kind of do as it please thing to it. So we'll have to do the political thing when we get back and somehow say, I don't know, our car broke down, whether it was too bad or something. But I wanted to be here because there's finally urban and rural and northern people talking to each other about protecting this part of the planet. And it's been a long time coming, because the environmental consciousness in the cities is clearly taking off all over the world. But if the connection is not made with Indigenous people and with rural people to redefine the vision of land use and water protection and food security, we're in deep shit. So this is the beginning of that alliance. We had 30 people in a blizzard at Fort Capel 2 weeks ago talking about how we can build links between the people who have been struggling around the rule of law, the wheat board, producer rights and production, the tree farm protection, the community pastures, the idle no more, the treaty rights, the protection of environmental assets in the country. And people came from Swift Current to Saskatoon to Indian Head through that last blizzard 2 weeks ago. And no one was hurt, thank God. So it's happening. And we have to keep the momentum going. The vision has to be timely. And I want to say something about the vision that I think is emerging globally. It's Earth Day, okay? So when we Earthlings celebrate Earth Day, what are we celebrating? You know what? I'm not sure we know yet. I'm not sure our collective consciousness globally has yet caught up with the evolutionary challenge we're facing. And that's fine. I'm a great believer in education. But we got to make some quick leaps, for sure. And I think we are. I don't know more. Great network. Setting up new relationships. All the global networks that are emerging. Our consciousness is clearly on the edge of some big changes. Well, it's time for some big changes. The people who are motivated religiously and the people who are motivated scientifically have got to get their acts together. Now that may sound strange to you, but that has happened before historically. And it has to happen again. Because whether one is concerned about creation in theistic terms or one is concerned about creation in evolutionary terms, there has to be a convergence in terms of action and activity. So that's the first thing, and I know that's challenging to a lot of people politically, but that's the challenge. So how are we going to think this through? Well, I've been working on stories, like you've heard of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I've rewritten it. Goldilocks and the Three Planets. Okay? You know the just right, too much, too little. Okay? So when we Earthlings celebrate Earth Day, what are we celebrating? We are standing on a rock. It is particularly special in this galaxy and in our particular solar system. And if we don't learn to understand how we work as part of it, we will continue to screw up badly. And our economic system right now is in a head-on collision with economic growth based on extraction collision course with how the planet works. And I think the scientists are getting it, the politicians have to get it, and the activists have to get it. And if we can all get on the same page, big changes will occur very quickly. Well, why Goldilocks? That's actually the term that astronomers are using. There's a satellite up there called Kepler looking for other planets in this massive system. And I think, maybe they should just look closer to home. Because they're finding them with extremely expensive and fine-tuned technology. Just a slight shift in light on a faraway system because a small thing goes across it and blocks it out. They can measure it, get really good at micro measuring. But shit, man, we've got 3 right here. Our neighbors, Venus and Mercury, we're the 3 hard rock planets that actually more or less fit the Goldilocks just right for life. But only the Earth works. We're very close to Venus and very close to Mercury. And they're part of our imagery. Don't forget the Romans and the Greeks and the Christians, and everybody's got their story. I think they got it wrong on Venus. It's not, shouldn't have been named after the goddess of beauty. It's a hellish place. It's a hellish place. And the only reason we think it's a bright star is because the clouds, which are toxic sulfur, reflects 80% of the light back. When I look at Venus, I love Venus, but the more I learn about it, I'm glad I'm here. So why is Earth work and Mercury and Venus not work? Mercury's too small. It's too cold. Ice. Doesn't have water, but ice. And it has no atmosphere. Venus, too hot. Too dry. And too much atmosphere. And Earth, just right. We have an atmosphere with just enough greenhouse effect to create a biosphere that can self-regulate and keep liquid water moving through the Earth. That's what life is. And these guys talk about dead planets, and it's time we got that in our head. We're living on a live planet. It's time we understood our connection to it as a living, self-regulating, life-creating creature in the cosmos. And our consciousness is part of Earth and must be used to steward it, to protect it, to think ahead. So Earth Day matters, and Earthlings need to catch on. This is just right. This is the right place, but not for long. So let's look at the caretakers, people who are supposed to be taking care of the special place. Well, okay, I'm going to read you the list and then I'm going to quit. What's Harper doing? I'm calling him the caretaker. And he should be accountable as anybody who is in those positions of governance. What's his record? Well, the community pastures we know the Saskatchewan map. But come on. Muzzling the scientists. Now we've got science journalists, World Federation of Science Journalists, even the journal Nature, complaining that the Canadian government is taking us back to the Middle Ages. We've got Environment Canada leaked documents bragging that they've reduced public discussion of their research on climate change by 80%. That is considered a political victory for that government, to reduce the public discourse on climate change. The Experimental Lakes Area, National Roundtable on Environment Economy gone. Canadian Foundation for Climate and Atmospheric Sciences defunded. We know the omnibus bills and the outrage around environmental assessment, not reformed, scrapped, new legislation, all in the interest of industry. The deregulation of the lakes, etc. I'm repeating it. It is atrocious. He should be fired as the caretaker of the planet. shelter belt. Let's come home. Now people don't know this about me. My parents ran the Swift Current Experimental Farm when I was born. The shelter belts down in the grasslands, when you come up the highway from the Grasslands National Park, my dad and his crews planted all those shelter belts after the dirty 30s. You know, I grew up with all the stories, and I am an experimental baby, if you're wondering. But I was raised with the talk of shelter belts and tree farming because it's in my family. And it's outrageous for a $2 million program with such benefits across the West in terms of protecting arable land for food security, carbon sequestration, massive impact. It is outrageous for a caretaker of planet Earth to be able to cut a program like that while there's a $1.4 billion cuts to potential subsidies to the oil and gas industry. I mean, you have to put these things in the same context. And there should be an outpouring of all Saskatchewan and all Western rural land concerned people about that. This network, we have to grow. And the last thing I'll say is this network has to grow across all the positive oppositional political traditions. So Greens, Liberals, Social Democrats, Progressive Conservatives, there is such a thing. We must rally to protect Mother Earth and to get caretakers in office that do care about what we're doing to this planet.